Welcome to Inside Auto Podcast, where we feature everyone and anyone you'd want to talk to in and out of the automotive industry.
Ilana Shabtai and Aharon Horwitz here, co-hosts of the Inside Auto Podcast, where we feature top leaders across the auto industry. Past guests and clients include pro basketball, football, and baseball stars that own and operate fleets of car dealerships. Today's episode is sponsored by AutoLeadStar. AutoLeadStar is pioneering smart marketing automation in the automotive industry. Built by top-tier engineers and data scientists, AutoLeadStar's sophisticated machine learning future-proofs a dealership's marketing operations and replaces traditional marketing methods. AutoLeadStar has been featured in over 10 auto publications and works with more than 30 plus OEM brands. And before we introduce today's guest, I want to give a big thank you to Murat Pashkovitz from Shift Digital for making this introduction. Murat is a marketing consultant for Shift Digital and is a past guest of this podcast.
All right. Thank you, Ilana. Guys, this is going to be exciting. We have a guest today that I'm really excited about, mainly because I have seen what he is capable of. He has shared with us kind of how he approaches data and insight. It's very different and unique from my kind of travels around the auto industry. And I'm just excited to talk to him. And so with no further ado, we're going to have Derek West here today with us. Derek is sitting right now in Fort Worth over in Texas. And Derek is the advertising and internet director at the Autobahn Group. And Autobahn is a well-known dealership group, but it has some of the best brands in auto, BMW, Land Rover, Jaguar, Porsche, Volvo, Volkswagen. It has a pre-owned store. And what Derek does at Autobahn is pretty much anything that has to do with that digital machine, that kind of unicorn that we're all chasing in the dealership world, of really tying together all the different pieces of what it takes to bring someone from the marketplace, which is, Facebook or Google or wherever they happen to be coming, but probably Facebook or Google, and into the CRM, and then really at some point into either the showroom or virtual showroom, however the sale is going to happen. Derek is exceptional from what we've seen at understanding and connecting data to that funnel. So Derek, welcome. We're super excited to have you here with us.
Glad to be here and great to talk to you guys face to face and look forward to talking about all this stuff.
Awesome. So I see you, it looks like you're in a dealership right now, right?
Yeah, this is my office.
Tell us about where you're sitting. Which store are you in right now?
So I'm in the Jaguar showroom, actually, office right off the main showroom floor.
Got it. Is that where you've been? So you've been with the group for quite a while, for like 19 years, I understand, right?
Yes, correct.
Same office for 19 years?
Close. No, I've moved around. I was in BMW. Go figure. I was in BMW for a while, and then Porsche for a while. Officed at home for 6 or 7 years, and then came back here a few years ago in the Jaguar showroom. And the president's office is here, so it makes it easy for us to talk about things. And the conference room is here, so it makes things.
All right. So I'm very curious about you because I know you studied at TCU. You studied advertising and public relations. When I look at your work and kind of from our interface with you, it seems to me that you are, you've really built out kind of a culture of data-driven decision-making at the group. And if you could just tell me about your journey a bit, Ilana and I always like to know, like, what brought you to automotive? What brought you to marketing in automotive? And where did you pick up along the way that superpower of data-driven marketing using some more advanced tools?
So I started in the car business actually when I was still in college. It was my later years, and I was in my early 20s, and I sold cars for a few years and then decided to get back into school full time. And that's actually around the time that the internet started coming on. This was like in the 90s, early 2000s. And so I went through school studying advertising, and then on my own, I was studying web design, learned Flash and Dreamweaver and that kind of stuff, and HTML, et cetera, and started creating sites. So that was kind of a side thing while I was going through college. And then when I graduated.
Derek, were you doing those for dealers or just general?
No, at that time, just myself. Well, just in general, just learning. I had gotten a couple.
By the way, I remember I thought about Dreamweaver in a long time. That was like
I know.
Dreamweaver. I can see like
I'm embarrassed, but I don't even know what that is.
It was
Yeah.
and you'll know this. You'll remember too. It was a Macromedia product,
Oh
before
my Lord. Yeah.
Adobe bought them. So,
Wait,
yeah.
so you were basically self-taught on like the internet,
Mhm.
and you were building websites. You were just dabbling in that stuff for fun, kind of learned it, and then what happened?
I graduated, and unfortunately, when I graduated, I had planned on going into the advertising industry. Fort Worth has some great agencies here, but unfortunately, at that time, it was a tough job market and so I decided to apply to Audubon to sell BMWs. I knew how to sell cars. I knew I could do well at it. And after I got the job, I immediately started using what I knew about websites and marketing and other communications to build my own site, in hopes that I could gain new customers and get referrals and do everything through what I know on advertising to sort of market myself.
Wait, hang on. So I'm curious about this. So you were at this really interesting point. What year are we talking about here?
This was 2000, at very end of 2000.
Okay, so first of all, that's right after the dot-com bubble, or in the middle of the dot-com bubble, essentially. And you basically were on this really interesting seam line between, the analog world of automotive and then the emerging early V1 of digital, right? Meaning, how many dealerships would you say at the time had a website?
Not many, and the ones that they had, they were all, it was new, so they were all, pretty bad. I mean, they weren't near what they are, today. So
what were dealers doing then? Like, what was the marketing suite at the time for a dealer? Meaning, but first of all, was there any digital activity at the time, or was it all still, the world of TV, phone books, benches, buses, newspaper, radio?
It was what you just mentioned. I mean, the internet was there. From what people could see at the time, they knew it could work. It could have some advantages, but yes, it was still, dealers were still doing classified ads and TV, radio, newspaper, that kind of stuff. So that was where.
So when you came in, you were selling. You came to sell cars. They had no idea that you were going to essentially revolutionize their digital marketing.
Right, correct.
Okay, so was it the same president then that it is now?
No, it's different now. But
when you came in early and you like walked into that office and were like, "Hey, I want to put a website together." How did they react to that?
Well, they saw my site. They saw the one I did for myself first, and so they're like, "Oh, wow! Well, why don't you do this for everybody here at all the stores? Why don't we transition you into a role where you do that for all the stores, and we'll pay you based on performance and give you a percentage." And it was a very attractive offer.
Interesting. So that was the beginning of digital marketing for Audubon, essentially.
Yeah, they did have one site before, but it was like I said, it's nothing against who did it. It was just it just wasn't what it could be. So.
Got it. Go ahead, Elon.
You were doing this all while you were selling cars, or did you fully transition to marketing at that point?
Yeah, I was selling cars at the time. Between 8 to 14 cars a month, and then doing this on the side. And
wow.
I built this. BMW at the time had a process where you could order a car, and so I built this little tracking system so customers could kind of follow their car where it was in the journey of all the way from pre-production to when it was going to arrive at the dealership, to help them have something to do while they're waiting on their car. So it was a pretty unique time.
And did people use it, that tool?
I couldn't track it like we would be able to today. Yeah. But I think that they did based on, feedback, and, I would get a call and, the customer would say, "Oh, I saw my cars on the ocean." That's
really cool.
So I think Google Ads launched in what, like early 2000s? 2000, I think AdWords launched officially in 2000 to limited advertisers, and then it spread from there. When did you start dabbling in? When did your dealership start dabbling in? Let's call it. Actually, let's first go before that. Talk to me about the like endemics, like the classified sites. When did you start working on Cars.com, AutoTrader, that type of world, and when did you start working on the direct Google advertising, Facebook advertising?
Sure. So on Cars.com and AutoTrader, et cetera, we did those pretty quick. the first year or two. At the same time, I always hated the idea of putting our inventory out there for other people to gain from and sell advertising around and everything. But we did it because we knew it was necessary. And we don't have cars.com anymore, but we do use AutoTrader still, and we use CarGurus still. But those are definitely not near what AdWords at that level. I mean, through the last 20 years remained a really strong, very strong, actually the strongest probably marketing tool that we have. So it's very important.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I think essentially Google Ads is basically saying we're the marketplace. We have all that, right? They're a direct to audience filter, so to speak. So I guess the transition I see that, maybe when I think about the evolution of dealer marketing, there was a time where dealers were like community hubs. They were, they owned their customer base. They had relationships. People bought cars generationally. And then as things moved online, and at first, the internet was a wild west, and dealers would throw up websites with pictures, and no one had inventory up. Then someone put up inventory. The neighbor was like, "Oh, they put up inventory. I should put up inventory." No one had prices. Then they're like, "Oh, they put up prices. I should put." That's how it evolved, right? It was kind of an arms race, a digital arms race. And at some point, I think the dealers missed the fact that, when they were being essentially mediated by the classifieds online, they were becoming a number, they were becoming a URL, they were becoming a price. They were losing their identity as a brand and as an entity, like they used to have for the 100 years prior to, or 7 years prior to internet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel like your direct efforts, say like Google, Facebook, places where you control the pathway to market, so to speak, as best as you can today, do you feel like you're able to restore some level of that identity and that presence and that brand differentiation, or is that lost forever in your mind?
No, yeah, I think I think we can definitely control it. And I think that a lot of customers over the years tried some of those things, and ultimately, they figured out that they're buying the car from the dealership and establishing a relationship with the salespeople and the GMs and the service advisors and all of the other people that are part of the group. So I think that the next time, when they bought a car, they just came straight back to the dealership again. So I think people still use some of those tools, and it can be helpful, especially for the pre-owned market where no car's the same. Finding that special color or that special interior options or whatever, I think it can be helpful for that. But for the most part, we've really seen our customers coming straight to us, to our website, via email or phone call, text messaging too. A lot of our sales reps keep great relationships with customers through text messaging. So the direct relationship's definitely still very strong.
And in your own kind of work, do you have a lot of contact, even though you're kind of orchestrating the marketing and in a sense you're looking at screens, right? To do that, do you have contact with customers now? Do you make that a practice to be in touch with them? What's your personal engagement with customers out of curiosity?
Well, and I think it varies at all of the different dealerships throughout the country on what that level of contact would be. I don't have much actually though. I was in sales so long ago that I'll still see a name that's familiar here and there. And, if I get a chance, I'll try to meet up with somebody who bought a car from me 20 years ago. Because actually I saw a customer's name the other day that bought a Defender from us. And he was, I sold him and his family a BMW back in 2001.
Amazing.
So, and that's an example, long-term customer that keeps coming back with and trust us with his family and friends. So, but yeah, not too often, but I'm not opposed to it. It's just, it's been a while since I sold. So
yeah,
it's pretty incredible.
Go ahead, Ilana.
I was going to say that's pretty incredible. They come back and it's been 19 years, and it's more impressive that you can remember their name.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, I had a experience going to a dealership where I'm from in Ohio, and I was talking to them. They're like, I think I know your name. And they were like, oh, your grandfather bought a car here in right when he got back from World War II or something like that. They had his record still in an old box in the back. It was a very cool experience to have that happen. Yeah, it's amazing when you have that.
Yeah.
So Derek, where do you see the biggest change since you've started in marketing?
I think it's communication. Just what what's happened with communications over the last 20 years. It kind of what you guys were talking about at the beginning, for so many years, the car business was the same from the 50s to the 60s, 60s to 70s. You drive around town, you go shop, you haggle, you do all of these things, and it just stayed the same. I mean, despite a few small changes. I mean, it's kind of funny to me. I'm sure you guys have seen the movie Vacation with the Griswolds and the whole experience of buying a car, where he goes. I think the world kind of had this idea of what it was to buy a car, and I think that movie kind of encapsulated it when he went down to the dealership and Eugene Levy was his car salesman, and he was trying to buy the family truckster, and he was even trying to show it was like a rite of passage deal too, with his son, showing him how to buy a car. So I think communication though has really just completely taken us out of all of that, and now it's changed with the convenience and the support of effective websites and other technology. It really helps streamline the process, the overall process of purchasing a car and servicing a car for everyone involved, and for the better, for that matter. I mean, it's an easier process now. It's quicker. I mean, you're not going to a dealership for 6 hours. I mean, if you want, you can just, I mean, we have a system where we can get everything done up front, and the customer can just come in, sign, and leave. And we can even do the delivery later at their convenience.
By the way, how long is that? Is that your own system, or are you using a platform?
It's a combination of things. We use Dealer Inspire for our website, which I love them because they use the WordPress platform, which is just excellent for SEO purposes, for structure, for being able to modify it. I'd actually learned WordPress, years ago, and so it helps me with making changes, being super familiar with it. Absolutely, so we use Dealer Inspire for a lot of stuff, and then we used their product Online Shopper for our stores, and then we recently also started using Roadster to experiment and to test, and we did that with a few stores, and we were able to look at the data and look at the leads and look at the traffic and stuff, and we've made a decision on which way we're going to go. I don't know if you want me to say or not, but they're both good products.
I think they're both really, I mean, I know those two companies. I know the people of those companies. They're very, very good products. I think in automotive, they're like Apple level. I mean, they have that feel of like really high quality, high value products, Dealer Inspire and Roadster. I mean, I guess I am curious. I don't know if it's like, you don't need to reveal it if it's public, but if it's not public, but it is curious just to see which way you want to go.
Well, it's tough because they're both good, but we're going to go with Roadster. We just signed on the other four stores, or 4 stores plus premium yesterday. But prior to that, we actually, before those technologies, it was kind of a hard balance for us because we still wanted to maintain control and to maintain that pace that we do of getting customers to come here, to meet people, to get to know the environment, to get to know our sales reps and feel comfortable, and then make the decision and not rush through it. And so we set things up like, actually I had a /streamline for all of our stores to where people could see, oh, if I want to streamline things, here's what I can do. I start with picking the car, and then I go on to the credit application. Now that's done, I can go and I can save a few hours at Audubon. They'll have everything ready for me to sign. So prior to these two, we kind of did it on our own. But then these two have kind of, forget the saying, but they have taken us to the next level, especially with being able to sign documents and everything, and do home deliveries and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, and I imagine, that probably became important. That there was a certain urgency around, it sounds like you were prepared, but I think every dealer has felt even more urgency around the experience of the past few months and being fully prepared to do as contactless, selling as possible. But tell me on that front, and then I want to go back to your marketing stack for a minute. On that front, do you, I'm curious, a purchase like a Porsche, a BMW, it just doesn't seem to me logical, despite the hype, to think that in the next few years, people are going to want to just check out from the cloud and get a car show up at their house. And I mean, it seems to me that there's something about, touching it, feeling it, driving it, having an experience of walking the showroom that still appeals to certain buyers of certain brands. And I'm curious, I assume you saw a significant dip in showroom traffic, right? In some cases, showrooms were down. Have you seen floor traffic come back up since things were relaxed?
Yeah. I mean, in March, when all of this initially happened, I mean, it was like nothing that any of us had ever seen. I mean, just, going back any number of years. So, and, you just didn't know what was going to happen. And the showroom traffic did completely just, drop off a cliff. And for a short time, actually, the showrooms were closed.
Yep.
So we're in Texas, so things were a little bit different for Texas than they were for some other states. So fortunately, we were able to leave service and parts open fully, although they had limited hours. But yes, I mean, to answer your question, March and beginning of April, it was just, really, scary for that matter. And not just for car sales, but just for all of us. I mean, just for everything going on, our families, and, so many people were being affected, and just, it was all that's on the news. So yes, it did drop off though. In April and May, it picked up substantially, especially it seemed like people started feeling a little bit more comfortable. And I think some of that was due to, knowing that the local businesses were following CDC guidelines and local ordinances, following directions and doing things to make sure that the customers would feel safe. So yeah, we did see it, come back.
And by the way, so on that, where do you stand on like how digital is it going to get in the next 5 years? As in, do you think that the dealership is just going to be a drop shipping warehouse for cars? Or do you think that there will continue to be a desire on the part of consumers to have that test drive, to have that salesperson, to know where their car is going to be serviced? Where do you fall out on that?
It's funny, if I base my future prediction on just like the past month or two, it's actually, I think we're going to see both. I think offering sales and service choices for customers so they feel safe and are safe, and giving them that option on how they want to buy their car. So we've had them kind of, at one end of the spectrum, no, I don't want to come to your showroom. How can you deliver the car for me? What's that process look like? And our sales reps walk them through it. And same with service. Our service advisors, we actually put a message on our website that said, if you want to talk through any of this with exactly what we can provide for you, please call our service advisors and we'll cover it on the phone with you. But then surprisingly, and I think this surprised all of us, actually a good majority or a good amount, can I still come to the showroom and buy the car? And so, sure, yeah. We'll do it in a socially distance way, and everything's clean, and your car will be in a delivery bay, and there won't be any other customers around. And so I think when they were able to talk to us and feel like we had it under control and they would be safe here, they felt comfortable with coming in. So to get back to your question, I think that we're going to continue to see that spectrum, especially as COVID rates seem like, continue to rise. I think we're still going to see people that, some people will want to do everything online. Some people will want to do it traditionally. And then there will be a very wide range, actually, just in between. Like, okay, well, I want to come to the dealership, but can I just do A, B, and C? And, or whatever. So I think what we need to do as a dealer, and what dealerships need to do, is continue to just listen and offer a wide variety or spectrum of how we can meet the customer's needs.
It's an interesting conversation we're always having with dealers and internally as well, because we like I guess our position is that it's going to, exactly as you said, it's a spectrum. It's going to be hybrid. You have to be available for whatever the consumer wants. Why not? But that thinking about e-commerce or it's a bigger question than just what your shopping cart is, or what your checkout process is. It's about a whole way of approaching the kind of engagement and nurturing life cycle of a customer over the course of their car buying lifetime. And I think that for us has sort of been our focus. Our tools tend to be upper funnel right now, but we do a lot of data mining in order to be more effective at the upper funnel, the advertising, the conversion optimization of the site. But but we think of it very holistically, and I think that's going to align. We think that's going to align with the experience. You need to have all aspects of it, but it's not about that. It's the urgency shouldn't be to get one piece in place. The urgency should be to build a functioning stack of marketing.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Maybe we'll ask about that a little bit in terms of the tools.
Yeah, I'd love to know what you're using, Derek, right now.
Whatever. We're always interested. Share whatever you will. What are your core go-to tools? That are
sure. Well, definitely, analytics was at the top of the list for all of the things that it could provide with website traffic numbers, traffic sources, bounce rates, time on site, new versus returning, which pages got the most traction. So, we quickly learned that aside from the homepage, that our specials page was the most popular page. And so we knew to give that a lot of attention and to change it out on a monthly basis. So I think all of that was important and it still is important, but now at the same time, I think that dealership management knows that websites work, and the better the site, the more business you'll get. And and I think we also know that half our customers are on mobile. So we'll continue to watch analytics, and it can come in very, very handy. Like some of the graphs I sent you showing, where we were before we started with you guys, and then spending the same amount where we went. Google Analytics was perfect for that. But I think we've moved into more of an area where our CDK eLead 1 dashboard has gotten a little bit important with the tracking and the metrics that we can get from it, with incoming leads and with how it tags our leads automatically. So that's no longer determined by the sales rep saying, oh, they drove by, all right, whatever. So all of the incoming leads are now being tracked, or have been for a while. And so we can see which channels and mediums are working better and not. So we look at things like the number of leads, solds, closing ratios, appointment ratios, demos, write-ups, and appraisals. Look to book things like, okay, well, out of how many, this salesman had 12 appraisals. How many of those did we get? Did we get half?
Yeah.
Did we get one? Is there a problem? Or is this guy doing or sales rep doing an extraordinarily good job? So that's been helpful too. And then with some of the stuff like we had mentioned a little bit earlier, then just what we ran into with reporting is it could get very fragmented, and you'd have to run a report for this, and you'd have to run a report for this, and then you'd have to put these together and combine everything. There wasn't just this one great way to see all of the data at one view and in a quick view, and it was a lot of numbers. So earlier this year, I started using a spreadsheet database hybrid, and I created some of our own dashboards for us to look at, where we can track everything with a quick, easy to view graphs, charts, just very easy to see the data in real time, any way we wanted from month to month, and so we could compare month to month. So I'd say that's where we're at now. We still use eLead and vFiles, so then you can go in that other tool to really take a closer look and monitor things. Like when we with those tools, a very quick turnaround with sales within our PMA. We could see zip codes that started increasing, and other all kinds of interesting stuff. So I think that's where we're at now.
That's great. So and it was very cool to see the charts. Thank you for sharing them. We spent some time on it today, and I actually want to at some point show them some of my product people. But it's interesting. So in that case, you have a really nice kind of aggregator, pull into your own database setup. Do you log into the individual apps that you use out of curiosity? Like, do you log into AutoLeadStar? Do you log into eLead? Or do you pretty much just rely on your views and you don't need to go into
No,
tools?
I definitely rely on other things too. Okay. And I have to tell you, and it's not just because I'm talking to you. I would tell anybody this. you all's reports are absolutely the best, and they're appreciated because you can just tell that your team took a lot of time to figure out how to take a lot of complicated information. Like if you've ever tried to go into Google Analytics or AdWords and create reports, it can be very difficult.
Yeah.
It can be time consuming, jumping back and forth between, especially if you're a multi car line dealership, jumping back and forth between all the stores and everything. So hats off to your team for developing just these great reports that you send us. And it's great because we get them on the 1st or the 2nd of the month. So it's just very relevant information, and it's divided into just very easy to view, easy to determine, if things are working, not working, which are working, by the way. So yeah, we love your reports, and I use reports from other companies too, and I'll go into dashboards on occasion, but not too much. eLead is probably the one that I spend the most time in, followed by the other one. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, very interesting. And I guess this is something we're always discussing as well. When we look at paid, let's take search or in general paid advertising, the major metric we're always trying to solve for is essentially, you could call it cost per lead, but it's really about more quality leads for the money you're going to spend. So essentially it devolves the cost per lead, but obviously you want to have cost per quality lead, right? You can get as many leads as you want if you're willing to not get quality leads. So, I think that for us is like our key metric, meaning we tend to not care about click-through rate. We tend to not care about, ad positioning. It's all about that final kind of terminal point of, can we get in more quality leads for this dealership that are going to convert to sales at the again, the right price or for how much they're willing to put into the market. Do you have another metric on the, paid marketing side that you care a lot about, out of curiosity?
No, I think it's just I think it's our own sales rates and, having a constant pulse of the kind of traffic that we're getting, the kind of traffic, the managers will tell me, hey, man, last week was really great, or last month was really great. Did we do anything different? Or what
That's
are
nice.
we doing?
You get like that qualitative look from your managers.
Yeah. And that's a great advantage to being here too. I'm a little bit more, they can stop by my office when they're headed over here for something to say, hey, what about this? Or this is going well. Like our parts director for BMW called me about a month after we had started with you guys. And he was like, and I'm just telling it like,
we love it.
Trying to flatter you, but he's just like, man, I don't know what happened, but something big changed, and we are just getting so many more calls and emails for accessories, and that was great to hear because BMW is one of our biggest stores, and so I presume, if that's happening for BMW, I'm going to presume that it's happening for the other stores too, and maybe I haven't heard about it yet, but to hear that is really good news.
That's really cool. Actually, that's interesting. I want to check your account real quick. Did you activate on BMW? Did you activate the parts objective?
I think we did. I'm pretty sure we did.
We see parts activity even if we don't turn on the parts activity, meaning parts accessories. It's nice, but I don't know if it's public yet, so this may be the reveal by accident.
It's still in beta, Aharon.
Okay, sorry, it's in beta. Excuse me, product team. We built out a really cool parts objective in Acquire, which is the tool Derek's talking about that runs paid search, social, and display. So it's actually something we're testing out in a bunch of stores and playing around with, like how do we get really plugged into Google Shopping kind of ad placements and opportunities and Facebook Shopping, and just try to get parts out there, because we think there are some dealers that's a very important strategy piece for them. And some don't care, but some do. So
that's great.
Very nice. Wow, this is cool. This is a great conversation, Derek. Very, very interesting. I think, in terms of my takeaways just from interacting with you, and also kind of seeing through forwards and other previous conversations you've had with our team, you have a certain advantages because you have a background in kind of computational thinking, and you know how to structure data, you know how to organize, you know how to write some basic code hooks to put things together. It's just a big advantage when it comes to an in-house leader around marketing, and I think that's that's something that's very apparent with you. And I think dealers that want to be, it also lets you assess SaaS like ours, software as a service type platforms. Like, I think if you are a future-oriented dealer, it's pretty imperative to have in the headquarters someone with that level, who has that same kind of toolkit that you essentially fell into, because that generational transition you went through in those early 2000s as you saw the internet emerge. And I just think that's so critical these days. People who can actually understand data, statistics. Dealers are very good with all they're so naturally good around everything having to do with selling cars. But when it comes to like looking at a Google Analytics or Google Ads dashboard and actually figuring out what does it mean and understanding how to set up the tags on the site and on all the campaign, it's just a different world that requires a dedicated person to kind of own that type of space and who comes with those tools. So I think it's very great. Autobahn is very lucky to have that. And it was very interesting and enlightening to speak with you. And we really appreciate it. We love working with you guys, and we love schmoozing. So, Ilana, anything you want to end with?
No, it was great meeting you as well, Derek. I know I see some of your stuff. I see the stuff that you share on Airtable. It's incredible to see how well versed you are in marketing and in automotive. So it's a real pleasure to have you on our show.
Well, thank you both.
Amazing. Okay, that is Derek West from the Autobahn Automotive Group over in Dallas, Fort Worth, and we really enjoyed it. Thanks, Derek.
All right. Thanks. Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to Inside Auto Podcast. Check out our other episodes with top entrepreneurs and industry leaders.